my little button. So good to see everybody. Here we go, here we go, here we go. All right, we ready?
Yep.
Okay, and 3, 2, and 1.
Hey folks, welcome back to your Frederick Real Estate Update. I am Darren Ahern with RE/MAX Results, and I also have with me at the last program we have of 2022 from Presidential Bank Mortgage, Mr.
Terry Kernan.
Hey buddy, how are you?
Good. How are you?
All right, we're bringing it in. This is it. We're coming down the home stretch, across the finish line for 2022 with all the real estate mortgage update stuff. So let's get right on into it before this ball drops down and we go into next year. So here we go. What's happening in the mortgage world?
Well, what we're seeing is a little bit of steady in rates. Rates have kind of ticked up recently.
What's that all about? I saw that. I was like, wait a minute. Stop.
Yeah, it's just that
They preparing for next month?
they're preparing for next month. They are not totally sold. So I think what it is that the market investors, the people that invest in the market, truly believe that we have a handle on inflation, but the Fed doesn't, and that's where the disconnect is.
Okay.
So I think what's happening, or what you're seeing, is that the investors are starting to hedge their bets that maybe the Fed's right this time. Now, the Fed's not always right. Like when they called it transitory inflation, they were definitely not right, but maybe they're starting to hedge their bets a little bit. So I don't see rates coming down. And if they do come down, it'll probably be 10 months from now.
Okay.
So,
At the end of 2023, we may start to see them
Yes.
come down. All right.
So-
Do you have any predictions for next year of where the high watermark could possibly go for interest rates?
I think the high will probably top out at about 7.5.
Woo. Okay.
And right now we're at 6.5. But
Yep. Okay. Yeah.
But not too many months ago, we were at basically 7. So we got to the high.
Yeah, we did get to 7, didn't we?
In October.
Okay.
Third week in October, we're at 7.25.
That's right.
And things have kind of inched back down to 6.5. So I think that trend's going to continue, but I think we're going to see more stability. And I've said in the past, it's easy to sell stability. People want stability.
Yeah.
You know, tell me what my rate is. Don't tell me what the rate is today, and then when I buy a house, it's a point higher. And that's what was happening. And that's where a lot of the anger, that's where a lot of the disconnect was coming, was people, you know, it was almost like they thought that if they called you and talked about rates and asked where they were that day, that when they bought a house a month later, that's the rate that they should get.
Mm-hmm.
Does that...
That
makes sense, right?
Yeah, I lost a big deal because of just this week because of the rates that it took the buyer, the debt to value ratio incomes and all those things.
Debt to income ratio.
Yep, it took it out of range just enough to where, oh boy, mayday. And so, yeah, we're seeing it. One of the things I'm concerned about is I have a brand new build going on right now that's going to finish in May. And, you know, it's like one of those situations where you start to think about, well, now that you're building the house now and it started, when it's finished or 60 days or 90 days before the home is completed and they lock in, where are we going to be? And if we're half a point or a whole point higher than where we were on the pre-approval just now, that's going to severely affect the buyers, possible qualifying anymore. And so I'm thinking, that's what I'm thinking about some of this stuff as we move forward, knowing the rates are probably going to go up. So what are your thoughts on that?
Thoughts are long-term locks, okay?
Yep.
That's the security blanket that people are looking for. We do 6-month long-term locks. We can even go a little farther. But let's take a look at what a long-term lock does. It basically protects you. So it takes today's rate, and it's probably going to add about a quarter to it.
Okay.
So it'll be like 6.75, 6.875, and that's the maximum your rate can go between now and when you settle in 6 months.
Okay. Yeah, what if it takes like 9 months to build, though? What if you get out, the
Then
builder
you
gets
have to
outside of that
reassess.
and then reassess?
Yeah.
Wow.
You have to reassess. You basically go back to market. You have to take a look at the market. And that's where long-term locks are great. But it can put a lot of pressure on the relationship between the borrower and the builder. Because if I have a lock that I know is expiring on July 1st and the builder comes back and he says, you know what, this supply chain, this, that, everything, the county, whatever you want to pin it on, we're not going to settle till October, or which happens.
Yeah.
Not a lot.
Right. But
I'm sorry, let me back up. It's happened a tremendous amount over the last 2 years because those are real issues.
Right.
Windows, you have to almost order them before you even cut a blade of grass on the lot, okay? You've got to start ordering the windows, the garage doors. You've got to make these decisions that you didn't have to make, 2 years ago. Windows were, a month or whatever the case may be. But now you're just hearing these astronomical numbers that it's taking for, the windows, the siding. So those supply lines are still short, and that's the reason we still have inflation. And what I've always said is if you want to drop the cost of materials, increase the supply. Do whatever it takes to get the factories running more, or another factory involved. Somebody taking, build up the competition, whatever it takes. But that's kind of what you got to find. So when you lock in, when you do a long-term lock, let's say we do a 9-month long-term lock, the builder says it's only going to take me 6 months. I'd almost say, okay, let's lock you in for 8 months, because it's always create a buffer, always create that cushion, because you know that it's going to happen, right? Mm-hmm. And when it does happen, if the projected date and the lock date are the same, the lock expiration date are the same, you know it's going to come down to the wire. You know, as a lender, that it's probably going to get pushed back, okay?
Right.
And so you want that cushion so you can say, hey, listen, you thought you were locked in for 6 months, but I locked you in for 7. So I'm going to give you an extra month. We're going to take care of it, because the builder, it's really not his fault.
No, it's not.
It's not the borrower's fault.
No.
But the borrower's got somebody to blame it on that their lock is expiring.
Right. What about a built-in 2-1 or 3-1 buy down with brand new builds to give that cushion? Is that something, as you as a preferred lender for new construction places, is that something that is viable right now, or what? Yeah,
so what we're seeing with some of the builders now, Darren, is they're saying, okay, so as we talked about on previous shows, the 2-1 buy down is going to buy the rate down temporarily. It's called a temporary buy down, okay? And we're going to take the interest that you normally would have paid in year 1 and year 2, and we're going to reduce your rate in year 1. So let's say you lock in today on a 2-1 buy down, and we do a 4.5 first year, 5.5 second year, years 3 through 30, it's going to be 6.5%. Okay, that's how a buy down works. The way that they're different than they were 20 years ago when I was doing them is basically the builder can pay it, the seller can pay it, the borrower cannot pay. So what we're seeing right now is builders, and I'm seeing a little bit on the seller side, but really with the builders, is they're saying we're going to give you 2.5 points or 2.75 points. We're going to give you $15,000, whatever that number works out to be, because it costs to buy down about 2.5 points. So to buy that rate down, the builder has to pay it. So the builder says, I'm going to give you $15,000 towards buying down your rate.
Yeah.
You do what you want with that money.
Yeah.
If you don't want to do a 2-1 buy down, that's fine. Pay 2 points instead of 0 and get a 6% rate.
Right.
But you know that I don't recommend that. When rates are highest, you want to pay the lowest amount of points. You want to stick at 0 points.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
You want to stay at 0 because we're going to refinance you in the next 30 months. Okay. So it takes you 5 years to recover, to break even on any points that you pay. Right?
Yeah. So it doesn't make sense
so it does not make sense to sit in a loan for 30 months when your break-even point is 60 months because you paid 2 points.
This is the stuff, Terry, that most of our listeners and audience and buyers and all that, this is something I'm learning. They're just not being told. They're just not finding this out. It's not very prevalent out there overall. and people are making mistakes and all that because of it. So this is good stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Do not pay points in this market unless the rates are so crazy, which they were back in October where we talked. But right now you can get a 0-point quote. Stick with the 0-point quotes. You're going to refinance in the next 60 months.
Yeah.
Or definitely within the next 60, but you're going to refinance probably in the next 30 months.
Yeah, because that rule I've always said to buyers is 9 out of 10 times, if it's a 1% or more less than you're paying right now, there's probably a good chance that you're going to end up eventually on the right side and now saving money by refinancing. But there again, every situation's different. And that's why I say you got to talk to Terry. What are some other statistics and numbers as we finalize our year and all that?
So this year has been known for one thing. As we're leaving this year, the one thing that stands out to me about this year is interest rates rising.
Yeah.
If you say, if 10 years from now, you say, what do you remember about 2022? Oh, when the interest rates shot up, okay? Let's talk a little bit about where they are today. We just did 6.5%. Let's talk about where they were last year on January 1st. They were at 3.25%, okay?
I remember.
So they have basically doubled.
Wow.
They have basically doubled in this year. Where is the mark where they started going up? January 1st. They started going up. I'm looking at a chart here, and it basically is a steady climb. And then right around May 1st, we were at 5.25%. Okay? So we'd gone up 2%, and a lot of people thought that was it. Couldn't go up any higher.
We all did. Let's be honest. You go back and listen.
I said it, yeah.
I was like, whoa, 5% above time out. Stop it.
Terry Kernan, said that if we get above 5%, that it's going to halt the market.
Yes.
Okay? I made a bad error there in my judgment, but I was not alone. Okay?
Hard, I don't think.
And when but it did level out in May, and it actually came down a little. So, things looked like I was kind of a genius. And then all of a sudden, June, they shoot up.
Yep.
Okay? And in June, they go up to almost 6%. And then they come back down. I'm starting to look okay, right?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden...
Getting a little confidence.
And then August happens.
Yeah.
Right? And we know what happened in August. Rates shot up, and they continued to shoot up from the first week of August until the second week of October. And they went from basically 5.5% up to 7 1/8, 7 1/4.
Yeah.
In a very, very, very short time. And that's when you saw people very upset, people dropping out of the market, people not realizing how 7 1/4 and 5 1/4 differ. So all this rate increase, what did it do? It gave us an average for 2022 of 5.26%. So right where we landed on May 1st is right where the average is.
Right. Okay.
So what's going to happen? Let's take a look at the average. So people say, well, rates are incredibly high, 6.5%. I did a couple look backs, okay, just to give you an idea. 5.25%, 2022 average. The last 50 years, how many years do you think had a higher average for rates than 5.25%? 5.25 or higher.
How many years out of the last 50 of them?
Out of the last 50.
I'd say probably I'd say 30 years out of the last 50 have been higher.
37.
37. Whoa. All right.
37 out of the last 50 years, rates have been above 5.25%, which is 2022's average.
Yeah.
Think about that.
Yeah.
So people say, well, God.
Perspective is what you just brought to the table.
Correct. That's what I'm trying to do, is let people know that, yes, it was unbelievable what we experienced. So let's talk about the last 10 years. 2013, rates dropped to just under 4%. They hovered around the 3.5% to 4% range. 2018, they went up a little to 4.5% range because we were in the presidential, the midterm elections.
You're right.
Okay? Rates always go up every, presidential election. They always come down. Let's look at 2021, 3%, 3.3% in 2020, 4% in 2019. So rates came down. But over the last 10 years, basically they've been under. So out of the 13 years,
This is precedented, I know.
out of the 13 years in the last 50, the last 10 years have been under 5.25.
I know. It's been free money.
So that's what people have drilled into their mind. Whether you're 80 years old or 18 years old, you think, wow, rates are so high because of the last 10 years. If you compare the last 10 years to this year, you're like, oh, this is, the world's
Catastrophic.
going on. Yeah, this is.
Well, that's the longest. It sounds like that's probably one of the longest streaks we've ever had financially below the average.
That is definitely, well, the last 10 years, that's the lowest they've ever been.
That's what I mean.
The
This
lowest
is
rates
so
ever
unprecedented.
got was January 1st, 2021. January of 2021.
Right,
Rates were at 2.6%.
right.
2.6%. 2.6%. That, put an equal sign, that's free.
Yes, that's
So-
that's Black Friday on steroids. That's Boxing Day. That's everything day.
Yeah. So the bottom line is, unless we have something catastrophic, another pandemic, and I'm not, I'm just telling you what caused the low rates over the last 10, 11 years was basically the crash of 2008. We come out of the crash of 2008, 2019, we're up to 4% in rates, and then boom, 2020 happens and rates drop through the roof. So basically we were recovering rate-wise. We were getting used to rates back in the fours. We were starting to think logically again that, hey, 5% is not that bad of a rate. And then all of a sudden the pandemic hit and rates dropped to the all-time low. So that's my perspective on what this year's been. And let's put it into real perspective and let's look at the overall, this has not been a bad year.
No, not at all. And that's what I'm going to share. Thank you. That's good stuff. Hey, guys, share this with family, friends. Let others know about our program here because this is where we're giving you information so that you can understand what has happened, what is happening, and how we can kind of look forward in our experience of, golly, probably, 50-some years of experience between the two of us in this industry to be able to, give some viable ideas that will make some sense based on trends, based on what we're seeing and what's going on out there on the streets every day. So
yeah, the only figure that I forgot to mention is the average mortgage rate over the last 50 years.
Oh, I always like to go to that number 7 because my birthday's on the 7th, lucky 7, and I've kind of always felt like highs and lows and washing everything out, like 7% is kind of a number, but
Close.
how close am I?
Pretty close. 7.76% has been the average mortgage interest rate
In 50
for
years.
the last 50 years.
So 7.7 is the marker right now.
So that's the perspective.
So the bottom line is, Terry, as long as we stay, even if rates go to 7.25 and they stay there, that's still lower than the average of the last 50 years, which means the average over 50 years is going to continue to now still trickle down a little bit as we stay under that waterline. So everybody, Terry, wants to know the big thing, though. How does all this wonderful data and stuff affect the number one thing sellers want to know? How much is my house valued at? Where's it going to go? We always know it's going up. You either are flat or you're going down. And markets have that capability to do that over and over and over again. I am always so dumbfounded when a seller, because of the last 10 years or 15, since the big crash, I am just dumbfounded of how many sellers have this idea that, like, you've got to be kidding me. My value of my house could actually go down a little bit. I don't understand how people are so darn surprised, and I guess it's just because of what we've experienced. So this is what I'm going to piggyback on the information of what you shared, and I might have to upgrade, downgrade, or side grade my predictions coming up based on the idea, because I'm going to be honest with you, I can't even wrap my head in a little bit about being above 7% for any amount of time, not just because we did it for a little while, it was just for a week or whatever it was that we hit 7.25, and then it seemingly jumped back down into the sixes pretty fast, it looked like, from what I remember, because I was showing buyers and working and doing this business. So the thing I look at are some of the numbers real quick here. All right, so we're going to look at how that affects things. Actives, we're still under 400. We're at 379, 206. Let me make sure I'm on the right one. Yeah, because I'm comparing last week's. 379, 206 resales, 59 average days in market. That actually came down. Woo! That came down quite a bit. I don't even know what did it, but I took a triple check on that number, T, and I'm telling you.
It came down 7 days.
Yeah, it did. So I'm like, I don't know what happened. I don't know. 481 average price. That came down. That came down significantly, though. So it makes me think that there may have been some homes that came on the market that were quite a bit less than the average price points that we've been seeing, and it caused a lot of buyers to jump up off their couch and move away from the Christmas presents and get things under contract here in the last week or so. But new construction 173 coming soon, 26. That number came up from 25. We're on the right track. Come on, you got to get excited sometimes when there's a good number like that.
Up 4%.
It's up 4%. Come on now, we'll take it. Take it as a win. 414th pending under contract. 330 homes sold in the last 30 days. So we saw that number increase as well. So this is the thing. This is the trend I think we're going to see is buyer demand is going to kick up like crazy. The thing I haven't done in a really long time that was really hard to do this week, the house, I had one of my listings that we reduced and lowered the price by $20,000. That felt weird, man. I'm not gonna lie.
So, but did it start at 120 and you reduced it to 100, or did it
No, we're at 550,
like
550.
Let's put it into perspective.
That's true.
Perspective.
Okay, percentage wise, it was like 4% because the sellers have taken my advice.
That's a big
because
number.
it works. Getting ahead of the little 8-ball here, but we were at 550 and now we're at 530, 529.
Okay.
So that's the spread. You're right. You got to be careful. So that's that. Here's the thing. As I give up the summary in the last 5 minutes about what we've seen, I predicted we would be at about 8.5 to 9% appreciation for Frederick County by the year end, and we have been downgraded to 7.8, just under 8%. Now,
pretty darn.
That's what I mean. When you put it in, we didn't land at 12 or 14% above or more, like we've seen, but we're just a little shy under 8. You know what we'll do, Terry? It's like winning the football game by field goal. We'll take it. We'll take it. So that's the growth for 2022, it looks like, for the most part. Now, of course, that's the average median. When you look at certain price points, that changes a little bit in that regard. In the high-end stuff, it's actually a little bit less in some regard, too. So, but I've always said a healthy average is 4%. Terry, 51% of all active homes on the market that have been for sale over the last 14 days or more have adjusted their price, and one of mine just became part of that number. So we're seeing half of sellers having to reduce their home price, and that is very, very, very significant number to keep an eye on. That is about the highest I've seen since the last crash. So that is really quite significant. NAR, National Association of Realtors, predicts that the U.S. will see values slightly rise. Potential, I don't know if they'll upgrade this or not or change it, but slightly 2 to 3%, or be flat in most places and see some adjustments in other areas that aren't performing as well. We're going to keep you up abreast on that and what's going on in that market, all that. And all of it goes back to affordability, as I've said. I started to lean towards, a flat split market for 2023 coming up, and it's going to be flat. I don't think anything under $250,000 will be the only price point, in my opinion, at this point, Terry, is where we will see prices actually go up to some degree. I think anything above that, it won't, especially if interest rates do get to 7 or 7.25%.
Let me ask you a question. As we get farther into 2023, if home prices don't escalate, okay?
Right, for just flatlined or going down.
If I'm a seller, I would much rather have it flatline than go down.
Absolutely.
I would not complain with rates where they are that my house is not appreciated in value.
Right. Yes.
But I'm in the business. Do you see that as a trend that most sellers will? No.
No.
Okay.
No.
You're shaking your head.
No. I think we live in a world, in society, in a time where the mass majority of sellers are not going to like if the facts are the market has absolutely flatlined. Your price has not gone up at all in the last 3 months, 6 months, or a year. I think there's going to be more people are going to be more irritated and angry and push back on that idea than not, only because we've been having 12 and 14% record years. That's why. So it's unfathomable to think, how could the choo-choo train be going 100 miles per hour and now we're sitting dead silent, zero on the tracks? That's why. That's the idea. How could have lost that much momentum? What they're not seeing is you're not losing value. It's just declined as far as the appreciation. But in their minds, they've lost because they're thinking, wait a minute, if all things stayed the same, my home would be worth, let's say it's a $500,000 home. My house I could sell from a year ago, I could sell it for $40,000 or $50,000 more now. And now I can't do that. It's still only $500 now. You just told me that's what it was way back or whatever. That's the thing.
Well, for the last several years, everybody's been winning. If you were a seller, you're a winner.
And then you
now
tie.
We're going to settle for a tie.
That's it. You have a tie ball game at the end, and you're like,
tie,
well, this isn't fun. This stinks. We've won everything, and now we're not.
So sell that to a seller. Is you can either, we're at a point where you either lose,
yeah,
or we settle for a tie. I'm going to settle for a tie.
That's it.
Okay.
The one big thing, too, at the end of the year, last minute, is rental market. Wow. I have clients, Terry, that are calling me with their rents going up upwards of $350 a month, and that they were paying $1,600. Now they're going to be looking this next year at $1,950 a month for the same thing. What do you think they're telling me? Get me out of here. I ain't signing another lease. I want to buy something. Surely there's got to be something that is going to offset some of this stuff, and that's what I've been saying to people is it's probably good. So the next program, Terry, what we'll do is I will start to get into 2023 bestseller strategy with rates at 6.5 and continuing to potentially very likely go up, what it is you absolutely better do. And if you don't, you are going to be pretty upset. Bottom line, I can promise you. So tune in, let everybody know. Happy 2022 into 2023. And we look forward to seeing you then. Take care. Happy buying and selling. Take care.